So what's life like with a Cook Islands Trust? Once you order a Cook Islands Trust, what can you expect? What's it going to look like? Well, you're asking the right person because I have a Cook Islands Trust myself, and my firm has set up more Cook Islands Trusts than anyone in the world. You likely already know what a Cook Islands Trust is going to do for you. Basically, you get to keep your money and other assets. You get the peace of mind that some big ugly attorney on the other side isn't going to take your stuff. Okay, so you may say, that's great, business guy, but what do I get? What can I expect, and what is life going to look like on the other side once I set up my Cook Islands Trust? And here's the answer. First, we'll talk about the setup process. Second, we'll talk about what you do once your trust is set up. Third, what happens when you're under legal attack. And fourth, click the subscribe button so you'll get reminded when I send out updated information. Actually, number 4, we'll talk about what it's like from that point forward. Okay, number 1, the setup process. Now, before your trust is set up, first, the law requires us to get some information from you. So we send you something like this, and it asks you questions like, what's your full name and address? What do you want to call your trust? So you write something like Starlight Capital Holdings Trust. Now, when you die, who do you want to inherit your assets? So you name your secondary beneficiaries. You'll provide a photocopy of your ID and have a notary public certify it as a true copy of the original document. So you take your ID down to, say, the UPS store and have them notarize a photocopy of it there. So this is all really simple stuff. You call your bank and get a bank reference letter, easy stuff. We draft your trust and then we send it to you so you can sign it. You get it back to us, then we send your signed trust and due diligence to our Cook Islands law firm trustee so you can get your trust registered and you can get your LLC set up that goes inside of your trust. They'll use your LLC to open your bank account. We get a trust and LLC registration certificate from the government. The trust itself is not in the public records, just the name of the trust and the name of your trust company. We then send you a copy of your LLC and the trust that both you and the trustee company law firm has executed. Meanwhile, our customer service department has reached out to you and walked you through everything to make the setup process easier. Likewise, our banking department has contacted you to help you get your bank account set up. Since the bank and trust company are two separate companies, the bank will need its own set of due diligence. Naturally, they'll need a bank signature card, application, your notarized ID, and reference letters, among other things. Okay, so that brings us to step 2, what it looks like once your trust is set up. Okay, great. You have your trust set up. Now what's life going to be like? And the simple answer is not much different. Log into your bank account on your mobile phone or your computer. I mean, the bank account you have right now, or just imagine it. It's kind of like that. Log into your stock brokerage account if you have one right now. It's kind of like that. I mean, the software for banks in your home country and the software used internationally is about the same. You'll have an offshore bank account and or brokerage account that you can log into, just like you log into the bank back home. So not much different. You log in, see how much money you have in your account, your transactions. If you have a stock trading account, you just do your stock trades just like you do now. Need money? Simple. Go on there and request a wire transfer. You can wire money from your Cook Islands Trust to buy a house in Florida like I did. You can use your debit card to buy groceries, buy stuff online like Amazon. Not much different. And bank safety? Let's talk about bank safety. If you look up the 50 safest banks in the world as of this video, guess how many of those banks are in the US? Out of the top 50 safest banks in the world as of this video, there's only one US bank on the list, and it's number 42 on the list, and it's a tiny US farming bank. So in other words, there are a lot more safe banks outside the US instead of inside. What about the FDIC? Okay, what about it? It's backed by the most in-debt country in the world by far. So yes, we work with some of the very safest banks offshore. And what else about banks? Now, you don't write checks. Checks are not an offshore thing. Not too many countries use checks anymore anyway. So you keep a small bank account back home. We can even set that up in a Wyoming company name so it's not in your own personal name. And just keep a little bit of money in that account so that if that gets taken, it's not going to ruin your life. Then write checks out of that local account to pay bills back home. Zap money from your Cook Islands Trust account to that account as you need it. So you still have access to your money, but your enemy at law does not. So that's what happens once your trust is set up. Now, what happens when you're under legal attack? That's number 3. You maybe knew a lawsuit was coming or you were in a lawsuit. Now the rubber meets the road and you lose the lawsuit and you're ordered to pay a whole bunch of money. So you have your money all protected, it's in the trust, now what? Well, at that point, the manager of your LLC changes. It changes from you to the trust company law firm. Why? Because if you were still the LLC manager, manager. The courts could order you to wire the money to the bad guy who sued you. Our trustee/law firm is licensed, which means they went through intensive background checks to get a license. They are bonded, so your money's insured by the bonding company. Plus, if you look up the most trusted, least corrupt countries in the world, out of 180 countries, New Zealand has ranked in the top 1, 2, or 3 every year. The Transparency International has ranked countries for trustworthiness, and the Cook Islands is part of New Zealand. So not only does the Cook Islands financial services industry have a stellar reputation, it's also one of the most regulated trustee jurisdictions in the world. It's also part of the most trusted country in the world, New Zealand. Moreover, keep in mind, the only time the trust company steps in is when the courts would take your money. So would you rather have a 100% chance of the courts taking all of your money, or would you rather have a licensed, bonded law firm in the most reputable trust jurisdiction in the world simply do what you've paid them to do, and that's protect your money? So the quote, bad thing happens, you're hit with a court judgment, your money is safe and secure. Well, then what? Well, you can still log in and see your money online. You can still get online and trade your stocks. You can still use your prepaid debit card, and you can have the bank reload it as needed. That way it's not tied directly to your account in a way that your opponent could force you to suck your offshore account dry. So you still have access to your money, but your enemy at law does not. Okay, so now we know how we set up your trust. You know what it looks like once you get your trust set up. We know what happens if you need to put the full armor plating on. So what does it look like on an ongoing basis? Hey, this is likely not your last lawsuit. Most people who get sued one time, they get sued more than once. So since you already have your Cook Islands Trust set up, why not just leave it set up for the next lawsuit? That way, you'll be ready no matter what comes your way. You'll live the asset protection lifestyle like I do. So a lawsuit comes, and you can sleep like a baby for the rest of your life knowing that nobody can take anything away from you. Naturally, the trustee company is not going to work for the rest of their lives for free. The government has their annual fee. In fact, our CPA says that's tax deductible. So it's a small price to pay for a lifetime of peace of mind. So that's what it's going to look like when you get your Cook Islands Trust set up. If you have questions, you can go ahead and get free information at assetprotectionplanners.com. You can reach out to us, and you can follow this channel. We'll see you next time. This is The Business Guy. Hi, this is The Business Guy. So what's better to protect your assets from lawsuits? A Cook Islands Trust, Belize Trust, or Nevis Trust? I've established trust in all 3 jurisdictions. In fact, I believe our organization, Asset Protection Planners, has set up more offshore asset protection trusts than anyone in the world. Plus, I've been in the asset protection business since 1991. So to compare the trust, what we have to look at is this. How strong is the asset protection in each jurisdiction? That is, what do the statutes say? How quickly does the trust protect assets? And can we trust the jurisdiction? In other words, is the jurisdiction a safe, trustworthy place? And I'm not talking about the banks. We usually use Swiss banks to hold the funds. I'm talking about the government, the culture, the reputation, and trustworthiness of the people. And then in the end, I'm going to tell you which trust I recommend and in what order, and which of these 3 trusts I've set up for myself and my family.